Good evening. Happy Thursday once again, and welcome back to the Man Cave. Jeff, how's it going in Florida?
It's going.
Tanya's not going to be with us again tonight, so we're going to be running without our production engineer.
Dang it, hate when that
I'm
happens.
gonna, I'm gonna have to get on her. She's been busy.
Slacking.
It's coming up. We're winding up. Well, we're halfway through her semester, I guess, and she's at a point right now where she's got midterms and stuff going on, and she's just real busy. She's got to
And then
be in
March
early.
Madness is right around the corner.
Yeah, that's coming up next week, so that'll be good. I'm ready. I'm ready for some college hoops. Let's see. Let me get back over here. I'm running a little behind because I was having some technical difficulties before we started, and I'm having to get everything back online here and ready to go. But
Yeah,
I am
John
ready to
became a ghost.
yeah, I am ready to have a drink. You having a drink tonight, Jeff, since you didn't last week?
Yes, I am.
What are you into tonight?
I'm having me some heaven hell.
Heaven Hill.
Yeah,
I am
it's
once
been a rough
again
week. I need heaven hell.
I'm going to my benchmark foolproof, and this is going to become a dead soldier here. I don't know if there's enough in here to make me a full pour or not. No, it's coming up a little weak. I'm going to have to go to the reserve and get a little extra. I think that'll probably do the trick. But that's one less bottle now I've got. I've emptied another bottle, so we have a dead soldier in the house.
May it rest in peace.
Yeah, I'll toss that in the recycle bin. But I'm I think every week now for the last several, I've been having this benchmark foolproof, and I'm really a fan of it. For a sub $30 bottle of whiskey, or I don't know if we can call that whiskey. It's bourbon. It says Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey on the bottle, so I guess I can call it whatever I want, right?
It's your bottle. Call it whatever you want.
Yeah. So, cheers, everybody. If you're
Cheers.
having a drink with us, let me know what you're having and where you're from. Let me get over here to the comments. Mike Little's with us. Mike, good to see you. Anthony, Brian, Ryan, and Russ, and Smoking Tar Heel. Some of our regulars in here tonight. Good news. Very good.
So, what was your temperature this morning, John?
The outdoor temperature?
Yeah.
I think it was about 35 when I got up this morning.
We're at 46.
Yeah, it was and it didn't get out of the mid 50s today. It stayed on the cooler side today. Uh it may have gotten up to 60, I don't remember. But it was breezy here today. It was a good day to cook outside. I spent a good part of the well this uh I started my cook that we're going to look at today at about I don't know 11 or 11:30 this morning because I just decided to make myself lunch out of what I was doing for the live stream here tonight. So let me get my shameless advertisement out of the way. I appreciate those of you who have donated. Once again, I take donations for anybody that would like to contribute. $1 here, $5 here. It helps me pay for the cost of the live stream software. And once again, if there's any leftovers, I use it towards the things that I'll be bringing on here to review and demo. And I've gotten contributions almost every week since I started taking those, and it's been very helpful. I appreciate those of you who have contributed, and I invite everybody to at least consider it. And I will bring that information back a little later as a scrolling banner down across the bottom of the screen.
I see you're repping your Gibson again.
Oh yeah, the Gibson. I've got 3 Gibson T-shirts, so I guess this is not the same one I wore last week.
No,
No, I can't.
last week had a bigger logo on it. Had the big logo
Okay,
across the chest.
I was hoping I didn't wear the same one I had on last week. This one, this one's a T-shirt that's got a logo on the back for the Gibson Garage, which is Gibson's guitar shop in Nashville. It's called the Gibson Garage, and this one's got the Gibson Garage ad on the back of it. It's where I bought my new guitar when we went out there. But yeah, that was a fun trip. Oh, so this week we're going to try something a little new that we haven't done before, and we're going to do this. For now, we're going to do it the first live stream of each month, and Jeff and I are going to evaluate and review a rub and a sauce each week. So this week, I think Jeff, Jeff, didn't you pick for this week for both, didn't you?
Yes, I did. You pick next
So,
time.
uh, Jeff he wanted to have a look at this G. Hughes sugar-free teriyaki marinade. And I had never used this, and I still haven't. I did not manage to do a cook myself this week using that, but Jeff's got some we're going to look at. So I do have experience with G. Hughes product line. I've got actually let me stop here for just a minute. One of the things I wanted to bring up before we dive into these is I think that everybody needs to have a favorite AP seasoning. It's an all-purpose seasoning, and if you don't want to make your own, there's plenty of them out there. There's stuff like the Killer Hogs AP rub, I think is what they call it. I've got the Man Cave Meals AP Mojo that's available at Atlanta Grill Company. But there's a whole lot of different APs out there. And what AP means, it's an all-purpose, and generally these all-purpose seasoning blends are wrapped around a salt, pepper, and garlic blend. If you don't have a blend like that you make yourself or that you buy, you need to find one, because I honestly believe that when you've got a salt shaker on a dinner table or anywhere for that matter, you should replace the salt that's in it with one of these all-purpose rubs or all-purpose seasonings that's got salt, pepper, and garlic in it, because there's nothing that I can come up with. Yeah, Lane's has got one. Lane's has got a salt, pepper, garlic. And Jeff, what's that other one? That Bama, what's his name guy that did that collaboration one with Lane's? It's got the butter in it.
Oh yeah. What the hell is
That one
called
is
that?
extremely good. And it's
Yeah, I don't have it.
I had a bottle of it, but I'm out of it. I used it all. But you need to find yourself a favorite AP, and maybe down the line, Jeff, we can pick 4 or 5 APs and do
Mhm.
a comparison on each of those. But everybody needs to have an AP that they really like. And uh, my homemade one that I make, the recipe for it's on the Man Cave Meals uh, Facebook page. If you do a search for man #Man Cave Magic, you'll find it. Uh, it's a salt, pepper, garlic blend. It's got I probably have MSG. I'm confident that I haven't looked at the recipe for it in a while, but I know I put MSG in mine, but it's optional. But it's one of those things that everybody ought to have, and you ought to try it. Try replacing if you use a salt shaker on your dinner table, put the AP in it instead of the just salt, and I think you'll be quite impressed with the flavor benefit you get of using salt, pepper, and garlic anytime you want to shake something on there. I'm guilty. I've got a salt and pepper shaker on the dinner table, but I never pick them up. it's very rare that I add salt to anything at the dinner table because I cook with enough of it that I never need to add it at the table.
Yep.
The only time I'm going to add salt at the table is if I'm going to add something where I want a very coarse, like the Malden sea salt or something, where I'm adding it as a garnish as much as for flavor. Uh, and that would be, I would use the really chunky salt for that. But
Baked potato. That's the only time I add salt.
well, I typically don't add, I don't even add salt in my baked potatoes because Tanya and I put things on our baked potatoes like we'll put cheddar cheese on it, we'll put bacon bits on it, or we put other things on the potato that are salty. Uh, when I do a twice baked potato, I add some salt to that, but I'm mixing it back in with
Mhm.
that potato that's going back in. And but yeah, the baked potato would be a good candidate. Uh, Sometimes green vegetables like green beans or asparagus or stuff like that are a good candidate to have some salt. But I've gotten to the point where I'm salting them in the pan when I cook.
Yep.
When I'm after I've got them blistered, you're going to see a cook similar to that here today. So we'll talk about that when we get to it because I did a
Well,
pan stuff and so did Jeff.
whenever you go to like a fine French restaurant, if it's a really good restaurant, you will not find a salt and pepper shaker on the table.
Right. But I just don't add salt at the table very frequently. And if I've bought food, I all bought stuff. Like if I buy something like a I don't know a TV dinner style casserole of some sort, it's always got more than enough salt in it to begin with. But
Probably more salt than you need.
yeah, probably so.
I mean,
But
I've tried to stay away from processed foods just
mhm,
because if you really pay attention to the label on them, the amount of sodium in it is freaking ridiculous.
it is. It's very high. So yeah, Brian says that rub that we were talking about from Lane's is called I Guys, and
Yeah.
that's one of the more unique AP rubs that I've ever had because it's got powdered butter in it, and it's a flavor that comes out in whatever you put it on. It's really good. I've considered buying some powdered butter to try to incorporate that ingredient in my own. There's a lot of other ingredients in that bottle, but that butter makes it into something special. I believe it's really good. So enough about APs, but I think everybody should have an AP and have a favorite AP that you keep on hand, whether you make it yourself or whether you buy it. So, Jeff, what are your what's your impression? I brought these to the table here with me where I can actually taste them while we talk about them.
Well, which
This,
you want to start with? You want to start with the teriyaki
let's
marinade?
start with the teriyaki.
Okay. My impression is this is a good sauce if you are a person looking to reduce your sugar intake, i.e., pre-diabetic, diabetic, going on keto, where
Yeah,
you want to keep those carbs down. This sauce tastes a lot better after it's been cooked than straight out of the bottle. Straight out of the bottle, to me, it's heavy in pineapple. Straight out of the bottle. When you cook it down, you lose some of that and you gain more of a teriyaki flavor. Now, mind you, this is a marinade, but I use it as a sauce.
yeah. I'm gonna bring the picture up here. This is the bottle, and uh, I found this stuff uh, in my area. I had to shop around to get this one. This one wasn't available close to me. I had to go to Publix to get this one, or I found it at another store. But one store I found it. It was $6.59 for that bottle. Jeff, do you know what you pay for it?
Four and change.
Uh, I came across this at Publix. They had two for $3.
And it was on
They
a sale at the time.
they had a sale running on it. So uh, this this sauce, here's the label that talks about what's in this sauce, and the ingredients read: water, tamari soy sauce, pineapple juice concentrate, garlic, distilled vinegar, sesame oil, lime juice concentrate, and xanthan gum, and sucralose. Sucralose is apparently what they're sweetening with to make it sugar free, and it's
Right, the
also getting,
xanthan gum is to thicken it.
yeah. Xanthan gum is something I bought some xanthan gum, and I'm trying to learn to use xanthan gum as a thickener because I think I can replace uh, cornstarch with xanthan gum if I can learn how to use it properly, because it only takes a little tiny amount of
Mm-hmm.
xanthan gum to do the job. And but the pineapple juice, I can taste the pineapple here. It's got, I can't really smell the pineapple, but I can taste it. This 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 is a sweet, for me. This is uh, a sweeter teriyaki than I'm used to. There's a little bit a larger view of the ingredients that are here. If anybody's interested in what that has to say, it says contains soy, sesame, and there's an asterisk there that the lime juice concentrate and the pineapple juice concentrate adds a trivial amount of sugar. And I'm sure it is trivial, but they don't have any. They got 1 gram of carbohydrate per tablespoon, and they're calling a serving size a tablespoon. If I was using this, or actually, we'll find out how much Jeff used when we look at his cook that's got that in it. So let me get back to that, and we will uh, take a look first at what Jeff did that has that he did. I don't have your cook in that exact order here. I'm going to start with your stir fry here, Jeff.
Okay, stir fry has the teriyaki in it.
So Jeff's got his connected Joe, I guess, running with the
Yep.
Kamado Joe wok.
Man, I love that thing. I
Yeah,
can't tell you enough how much I love that thing. Nothing sticks in that wok.
yeah. So you got some bean sprouts here.
Yep,
What have you put in the pan underneath it?
it's just some oil,
Just what kind of oil are you using?
regular oil,
Like corn oil,
vegetable oil.
vegetable oil.
Yep.
So you just, I guess you just toss those bean sprouts for just a little bit and then swap them out.
Yeah, swap them out because I wanted them to cook. I wanted to be able to do the pork and then add some sauce to it. And
Yeah,
I didn't want the sauce. I didn't want the sauce going on the bean sprouts yet. So I cooked the
right.
bean sprouts first. And this is a pork tenderloin.
So you just cut it into strips.
Just cut it into strips, and that came out really nice and tender.
I see something I like here. I see the smoke. That's telling me that that pan's nice and hot. And that's,
Telling you, John, that connected Joe does
yeah.
great with the wok. It really does.
I got to figure out my wok burner situation here. I haven't got that sorted out yet. We'll see. We'll see. I might be able to look into that next week. So your
Then to
pork
that,
is
I add a little bit of Japanese barbecue sauce to it on top of my
okay.
teriyaki. So,
Is this that Ben Chan,
yep,
whatever, in the
yep.
squeeze bottles?
Yeah, just it's just a little bit, just to give it some color and give it a little added extra depth.
Yep. So what else we got in here now?
Okay, then I add the bean sprouts back. I thought there was a picture before that. I guess not. Bean sprouts and my stir fry vegetables, carrots, water chestnut, broccoli. Trying to think what else is there. But you can see that pan, that thing's smoking hot. And nothing, like I said, nothing sticks to that pan. Nothing.
Yep.
And then on the picture before, that's when I added the teriyaki sauce back into it and let
Or in
it
the
cook down a
video.
little bit.
Yep.
Yep, let it cook down a little bit, and then the end product there is what you see in the
Is that
bowl.
is that wok too heavy to toss?
No, nope,
No,
nope.
I'm
It takes
not.
two
I don't
hands
know
to
how.
toss it. It's not a one-handed toss.
No, I've never felt one of those, so I don't know how heavy they are.
It's heavy wok.
Mine are fairly lightweight considering, but I've got two woks now. I've got one with a rounded bottom and one with a flat bottom.
I've
But
got the cast iron wok. I don't use that
yeah,
anymore. Matter of fact, I'm going to give that to my daughter.
I don't. I've got that thing, but I don't know where it is. I think it may be out in my storage shed because it's to me it's unusable. It's not good for a whole lot. It might be good for popcorn if you wanted to make popcorn in your Joe.
You want to know what that one's good for? Fish fry.
A fish fry. Man, I am not deep frying in my Kamado Joe. I'm not getting.
I'm
I
not
am
either. I'm
afraid
just
of that.
saying what the thing is good for.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that, and I see people doing it all the time, and I'm just shaking my head.
Things that go boom.
I'm telling you what, Jeff, that scares me to no end. At what
Things
can
that
go
go
wrong?
boom.
What can go wrong with that? Oh boy, vaporized fat and high heat sparks. Hmm. But anyway, this looks good. Uh, I can see how the sauce tacks up in there, and it reduces this. This is something else we were Jeff and I were talking about. This bottle is listed as a marinade rather than a sauce, and I think because of that, it's a little thinner than a typical teriyaki
Yeah.
sauce. It's designed to be a marinade and maybe used in the stir fry. I've got a favorite teriyaki sauce, but it's not this. It's called
Uh,
Soy Vey is the
uh,
brand name of it, or what
well,
I think
my
that's the
favorite
brand.
is my homegrown one. But
Yeah.
when you were out trying to buy this bottle, you found a bottle of teriyaki sauce with sesame in it, which I have not had down here in Florida.
Yeah. That's that
And
should be. I should have a picture of that here somewhere. It's
I found that to be very interesting.
this is what I
Yeah.
found. It's a sesame teriyaki marinade, and that I would probably like better than this because one of the reasons I like that soy vase because it's full of sesame seeds.
Mhm.
It's
And
got
that,
it's
when you
got
showed me, was pretty full, chock full of
yeah.
sesame seed.
So that one may be something I'll try down the road. But they didn't have that one at Publix. When I went to Publix, this one you can see here was listed at $6.29. That was another grocery store, but Publix had two for $3, but they didn't have this, and so I only bought the one bottle. Uh, or no, they didn't have. They weren't two for $3. They were just $3. They were
Hmm.
on sale for $3. I don't want to make it sound like they were two for $3. They were two for $6, or they were $3 a piece. Uh, which is fine. I don't know how much I pay for that soy vey, but I pay more than that for it, and it's also a little bit bigger bottle than this. But teriyaki's not one of my favorite things. I use it, but I like to mix it with some other things. A lot of times, especially if I'm doing stir fry, which if I ever get back into doing, if I ever get a wok burner going out here like I'd like to have, I'm going to do some more of that. Uh, the wok burner is a really nice way to do that. So Jeff did a second cook with he actually used the Spellbound and some Hughes on some wings.
Right. And I have never used the Spellbound on chicken. And let me tell you, that added
Yeah,
a whole new dimension to it. It was really good.
I think it would be good, but I'm not so sure about. I'm trying to sort out what those two would taste like together.
It was
I'm
good.
not sure about that. I think the teriyaki might go better with Unami.
Oh,
maybe.
definitely, because Kunami
Uh,
has an Asian flavor to it.
right. But this would be a weird combination in my mind. But you
So
got
anyway, what I did was I took my wings, put them in a bowl, seasoned them up with Spellbound, tossed them around, threw them on the grill, and I think that's right when I threw them on that picture there. Next picture should be about halfway through the cook. Yeah, yeah, about
yeah,
halfway through the cook there. And when they were done, what I did was I threw them back in the bowl, threw in about, I'm going to say maybe an eighth of the bottle of teriyaki.
yeah. For that many wings, I probably had about a quarter of a cup,
That's probably what it was.
somewhere around in there.
Yeah, that's
It
about
don't
what
take
probably.
much. It doesn't take
No,
much to coat them.
no. So I got
And a
them all
lot
coated up and threw them back on to tack up.
with the teriyaki sauce that I use, like that soy vey, I'd have had to thin it out a little bit. I would have had
Yeah,
to. I would have put a little bit of probably just because I do what I do. I probably would have put a little bourbon in it or water. But
I probably would have went with some sesame oil.
yeah, this I don't want to add. I wouldn't add any sesame to the soy vey, but maybe to this one I would. That looks good. You
There
make
it
you
is
some
under
French
there.
fries.
Sweet potato fries. Yep.
Yeah. I got my French fry cutter out this week and used it for the first time. And
I saw that. They look good.
well, they'll be better next time. I know what my process needs to be now, and I didn't have the time to do the process the way it needed to be done. The French fry process, believe it or not, needs to be a 2-day process.
Yep.
I need to start my fries the day before I'm ready to cook them, and I'll get to that at some point. But I now have the proper tool to cut French fries with. I've probably got a picture of those stuffed away in here. Um, my French fries came out really well. This That's what my fries look like after I did them. I made some. Tanya and I had those black bean burgers again the other night, and I made some homemade French fries to go with them. And these were remarkably good for doing it in a 1-day process like I did, because I didn't get a chance to chill these down as much as I would like to have before they went back in to the 400-degree oil for the second part of that cook. But I'll have more on that later. I bought the French fry cutter I bought is amazing. It's going to be really nice. So that's all we have to talk about on the sugar-free teriyaki marinade. But like Jeff said, this G Hughes stuff, if you're doing keto or if you're looking for sugar-free, this stuff is good. I actually like their hickory barbecue sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got a
It's
bottle of
very
it in the
good.
refrigerator, and I use it occasionally. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in and what kind of sauce I'm interested in, but I use it,
They have
and
a
it's
yum yum sauce. They have salad dressings. They have barbecue
yeah.
sauces. They got a burger. Did you check out the
Their
burger
honey
sauce?
mustard's good.
Yep.
Also, I've had the honey mustard. I've had their steak sauce also. Their
And their
steak
ketchup's not
sauce.
bad either.
I haven't tried the ketchup,
It's not bad.
but I've
But like
had
I
their
say,
steak sauce.
if you're in the need of having a low sugar diet and you still want to have the sauces, the salad dressings, etc., G Hughes is the way to go. I don't think that there
So,
is a better sugar-free all-around product out there than G Hughes.
well, I don't think they have much competition, to be honest with you, because I don't think I've really run into too many others out there that are sugar free. I think they're pretty much in a market by themselves, but check them out. You might be surprised at how good some of that stuff is.
I'll
Uh,
be right back, John.
okay. The second thing that Jeff and I chose to talk about this week is the Lane's Spellbound rub, and I did a cook with this, and Jeff did too, if you count the wings, and we'll look at that here in a minute. But I've got. Let me find my pictures here. I'm going to bring these up. This is Lane's Barbecue Spellbound, and this is a newer rub in the Lane's line. This is what, maybe 2 years old, Jeff.
Yeah, probably 2 years old. And it comes in two flavors.
Is there a hot version of it?
Yes, there's a hot version of it.
Yeah. And that's another thing, guys. I never buy the hot versions of rubs, and when there's a hot version, don't let me convince you not to buy them. But I always buy the regular one, and when I want to heat it up, it's just easy to add cayenne pepper for me to do whatever I want to do to add additional heat to it. But for that reason, I never buy the hot versions of anything. But this rub's a newer one in his lineup, and I hadn't tried it until fairly recently. This is my second bottle of it, because I can buy this locally. I bought this at Academy Sports, and I can't remember if Walmart has this or not.
I don't think Walmart has Lane's.
But
now maybe in Georgia they do, but not here in Florida. I haven't seen it.
My Academy has it, and that's where I picked that one up. And it's still the most expensive rub on the shelf. It's expensive at or wait a minute. No, I didn't buy this from Academy. I bought this from Atlanta Grill Company. I bought this one on the last order I made from Atlanta Grill Company. And I don't remember what I bought to go with it. I did not buy this at Academy, but Academy has it. So if you're looking for it locally, you can get it at Academy. And if you're going to mail order it, you can get it from Atlanta Grill Company. And I haven't looked to see if Lane stuff's available on Amazon or not. Do you know if it's available on Amazon, Jeff? Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah. I don't think it is, but let me take a look here real quick. Lane seasonings. Yep, by George it is.
So it might be, you might be able to pick it up on Amazon. How much is a bottle of that on Amazon?
On Amazon, it's $14.99. I do not believe that's what I paid at AGC.
I think it's the same price at AGC. But I'm not sure. Here. But this rub,
Spellbound is $12.99 at AGC.
Okay, so they're building in some of the shipping costs over there at Amazon. But anyway, the ingredients on here are white sugar, brown sugar, salt, pepper, garlic, chili powder, paprika, smoked paprika, oregano, ground mustard, and cayenne pepper. And I don't know if you remember talking about it last week. I think I brought up last week that my personal belief is that the rubs that you cook with need to have 6 ingredients in it: salt, pepper, sugar, granulated garlic, granulated onion, and pepper. Or did I say pepper already? Salt, sugar, pepper, paprika, granulated onion, granulated garlic. That's 6. Those are the 6 ingredients, and mostly you have that here. You got sugar, salt, pepper, garlic, paprika. What you don't have from my list here is the onion in this one. But this one's got chili powder. It's got 2 different kinds of paprika in it, and oregano, ground mustard, and the cayenne. So this is a really nice tasting rub. This I like.
Definitely.
The first thing, the aroma, when I open this up, for whatever the reason, the only thing I really get in terms of aroma out of this is the chili powder. Jeff,
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
get
what
the
I get when
chili.
I first open it. Yeah,
Yeah, it smells like chili powder.
which is kind of odd because what chili powder is fifth item down. One, two,
It's way on down
three,
the
four,
list.
five, sixth item down.
But the things that go in chili powder are aromatic, very aromatic usually. And the thing that's always the most aromatic element of chili powder for me is the cumin. And that's probably what I'm getting mostly here is cumin. But it doesn't say cumin, but since it says chili powder, that can mean a lot of things. The regulations for listing your ingredients are very lax in my opinion, because you'll look at a lot of bottles of rub and it'll say sugar, salt, pepper, and it'll say spices. And you never know what that's going to be. There's a lot of rubs you'll find that have spices listed as an ingredient. So I don't think there's a requirement that says you have to officially list every single ingredient that's in there, but I think you do if it's an ingredient that somebody could possibly be allergic to or whatever. But this is a sweet rub. When you taste this, it's sugar forward. There's a lot of sugar in this rub. Uh, let's look at. Do I have another picture here? I don't think I do. I just brought up the nutrition label on it. This is kind of hard to determine unless you're used to calculating this way, but the reason I put this on here is because I feel like this rub is too low in sodium for too low in salt for a lot of the things I would like to do with it in general. It's showing that one serving is 1 teaspoon, and they've got 3 grams in parentheses out there, and they're showing 174 milligrams of sodium in that. And what that works out to is that's less than 2/10 of a gram. That's 0.17 grams out of 3 grams in a serving. So in that teaspoon, there's hardly any salt in it. And one of the things we talked about last week also is one of the reasons I like Meathead's Memphis Dust in concept is it doesn't have any salt in it at all. It's designed for you to salt your meat and then do your rub. And that's one of the things I like about that concept. If you want to salt your meat and use a rub, this is a rub you should be looking at, because this one's so low in salt that you're not adding a significant amount. This is not something I would want to cook a butt with without using salt prior to putting this on it, because I just don't believe there's enough in it to get salt. In my opinion, is the most important ingredient in any rub, unless it's a salt-free rub, and then you're dependent on putting your own salt in. Thoughts on that, Jeff?
Agreed.
So, but this rub has definitely is definitely low sodium. So what do we got here, Jeff?
I did a chuck roast for pulled beef, and I seasoned it up with the Spellbound. That's the only thing that's on it there. And I ran that on the Huntsman at 225, and let it get to about 160, and then which is about where it is right there. And then I drop it down in the pan, cover it with foil, which I didn't take a picture of, and put a little bit of au jus in it, and bingo, there you go. That's what you got.
Yep.
And
So you added a braising liquid.
yeah, just a little bit.
So to go to pulled beef here, how I see you got a probe in there. How hot did you take that?
I took that to 206.
Yeah.
Because
206, 208.
yeah, because at 203 it still was not probing tender. At 206 it was.
Well,
And
how I can tell when this is ready is when you reach in there and scrape it with a fork and it just falls apart.
right.
Yeah. So you just is that a beef broth? You said you put an au jus in there.
Yeah, it's better than bouillon beef.
Okay, yeah.
That's my go-to. That's your go-to.
Well, my go-to on something like this is a 50-50 mix of beef broth and Guinness. I
Mhm.
like to put Guinness in it, and I also like to quarter up some onions and smash some garlic cloves and throw in there. That's what I do with beef, and I do with my beef ribs. But this is fine, just like it is. There's nothing wrong with just beef broth. That the just beef broth is not going to taint the flavor of the beef any.
Nope.
But the reason I do the others because I'm going to turn around and make a sauce with some of that brazen liquid when I'm done with it. Usually, not always. Or you could, Jeff. Next time you do this, you should try that. You should put a cornstarch slurry in your brazen liquid about 30 minutes before it's done, and
Hmm.
thicken that up and save a little and package a little bit of it with your pulled beef. That looks delicious. So what are you doing with it? Are you just eating it as pulled beef, or are you doing
Just eating it
something?
pulled beef. I get this bread. It's called lavash bread.
Yeah,
It's like a flat bread over at Publix. It's by the deli and the one of the end caps, and
right.
we use that because it's a lower carb, and we just do roll ups with it.
Yep. So thoughts overall on Lane Spellbound as a beef rub?
Very good. I mean, I use that's what I've primarily used it on is beef. I
Mhm.
haven't used it on uh, pork per se, other than the stir fry. But it's
Right,
primarily been beef. I've used it on beef ribs in conjunction with a layer the either the salt and pepper garlic, Lane salt and pepper garlic, or I'll use his brisket, which is just salt and pepper, and then come back with some spellbound on top of that. Because
right.
majority of the times, very rarely do I use just one rub when I'm doing anything. It's I usually layer it for flavor.
Yeah. I typically
But
don't use sweet rubs on beef. I do sometimes, but typically I don't. I do, however, put a little bit of sugar in my beef rubs because it makes a big difference in bark
mhm.
formation. That that sugar really helps the bark.
Yeah, you could tell that I had good bark formation on that chuck roast.
Yes, that one picture after it had been cooking for a while, you had a great bark on there, and that these rubs like that really can help with the bark.
And I was
That's why.
surprised. That thing came out really super good doing it on
Mhm.
the Huntsman. I just added two small chunks. I took one big chunk of post oak and split it in
Yep.
half and put that on there. And that was more than enough smoke. I had beautiful, if you looked at it in the bowl, it had beautiful smoke ring, it had beautiful smoke profile. Um,
Right.
yeah, I've got the mix and bark, and I hate to say, I don't think I've used it. Last time I used it was when I fed Sport Subaru because of the sheer
Yeah.
mass of food that I was making.
Speaking of mixing, Myron's. Did you see Myron's post on Facebook yesterday
Which one about Made in
about
USA for the
about
tariffs?
the barks aren't affected by the tariffs?
Yeah,
You should go
yeah.
read the comments in that post. They're hilarious. It's funny, but yeah, uh, I just thought I'd bring that up. But I did my cook that I decided to do with the Spellbound is I went to the grocery store this morning and I bought a pork loin. This pork, or I'm sorry, a pork tenderloin. This was a fairly small one. It weighed about 1.25 pounds. It wasn't very large, and I just gave it, a fairly decent amount of Spellbound. And this is about 8 o'clock or 8:30 this morning. that I seasoned that. And true to form, I vacuum sealed it and tossed it back in the refrigerator. I did not add any additional salt on this. I started this one and I wanted to see if my hunches were correct about needing additional salt. And so I vacuum sealed this one and put it back in the refrigerator for several hours to do what effectively becomes a dry brine. I like to vacuum seal it because of the dry brining effect works better under vacuum than it does just on a rack. But if you don't have a vacuum sealer, you can season that, put it on a rack in a pan and put it back in your refrigerator and just let it sit and it'll do its thing. So the next thing I wanted to do was make a glaze. This is a technique that I learned from Adam Perry Lang, and I think it was in his book called Serious Barbecue. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I'm pretty sure that this technique is one that I learned from him. So I bought one of the cheap jars of apple jelly at Food Line this morning when I bought that tenderloin, and it's a 12-ounce jar. And the other ingredients that go in this, I put some of the Spellbound in it, a little bit of lemon juice, and some bourbon. And unfortunately, I didn't really measure anything, but I can tell you that this is about half of that jar of apple jelly. And if you don't like apple jelly, the great thing about pork is pork loves whatever fruit you want to throw at it. If you don't like apple, if you want to use strawberry, cherry, pineapple, any of it, any fruit that you like is going to work great with pork, especially something like a pork loin or pork tenderloin. But I wanted to do apple today simply because I haven't done it in a while. Orange marmalade's another really good one to do something like this with, but that's about half of that jar of apple jelly. I tossed in about a tablespoon, roughly, just by looking at it, of that lemon juice, and I tossed in what would probably be close to a quarter of a cup of bourbon, and maybe a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half, roughly, of the seasoning. So what we do next is take the whisk and just work all that together. And what I've got here now is going to be used as a glaze, but the way I apply the glaze in this technique's a little different. I reserved a little bit of that. I pulled a little bit of that off because I want to drizzle some of that on top of the pork when I'm ready to serve it. I want to save a little of that back. Even though it's got bourbon in it, I saved it back. Under normal circumstances, if you wanted to drizzle this on your bourbon, you would want to heat that up enough to evaporate the alcohol out of it. But what I had here didn't have enough in it that I was really going to be concerned about it. Something to go with that, I bought this little bag of this. I think they called this a potato medley. It's got these purple potatoes, these red skin potatoes, and some Yukon Gold. And these potatoes are all real small. They're about the size of a ping pong ball. They're not very large. And
I love those.
Yeah, I got some fresh green beans, and I cut the ends off of them. And I got my steamer out and got a low temperature steam going in there because I wanted to par cook these because I'm gonna take them to the grill and finish them. And I'll show you what I did with that when we get out there. But I didn't want to actually cook these on the grill because I wanted these to be something that were coming together while I'm resting my pork tenderloin. And I didn't want these to be in the pan but a couple of minutes. And that's what we ended up doing. So I fired up the Huntsman. And guys, I'm just like Jeff. I'm really loving this Huntsman grill. This chimney of charcoal, you can see that charcoal is kind of grayed over, but that's charcoal that was left over in here from the last cook. The last cook I did had enough charcoal left behind to fill that chimney up. When you close the bottom and the top vents on this grill, it snuffs out the fire rather quickly. and
Mm-hmm.
it saves your charcoal very well. So if you're cooking with lump, which I was in this case, I just scraped it up and used it again, and I didn't have to use any new charcoal for this
Let me
cook.
give you a little hint there, John.
Yep.
Don't put it in your chimney. Leave it at
Uh,
the bottom and put your chimney on top with your fire starter. It When your chimney is fully engulfed, what's left underneath is fully engulfed as well.
I don't think I understand.
Rather than scooping up what's left in your huntsman and putting it
Uh,
in your chimney,
yeah.
just leave it. Just kind of gather it all up in on one side. I put the
Yeah.
chimney right on top of that. It ignites when you're burning the chimney of charcoal.
Are you talking about this charcoal that's left behind over here?
Yeah, don't put it in the chimney. Just leave it on the bottom grate. Put your fire starter on there. Put your chimney of new lump on there. And when that chimney is fully engulfed in
Yeah.
flames, that
Right.
what's underneath it will be fully engulfed also.
Okay. Well, I just had more left over in the grill than would actually fit in my chimney on that one. So I got that going, and then I just after I had all that charcoal lit and burning, I dumped it off and spread it out with my what do they call that, a charcoal stick or the rake that comes with this grill?
Yeah.
And I smoothed it out, and I've got the Huntsman next level ring down there with a grill grate that's right above that charcoal. This there's less than an inch gap from that lower grate to the charcoal. So that glaze that I made, I dumped it out into a quarter sheet pan and just kind of let it spread out in the sheet pan. And I took my seasoned pork tenderloin out of the vacuum seal bag and tossed it on over the coals. And this is one of those cooks you got to stay with it. I want to keep this thing moving constantly, so I'm never letting it sit longer than about 30 seconds before I'm turning it. So at this stage right here, I've turned it in quarter turns about 4 times to get that level of cook on it that you see there, and then I take it out, put it in that pan, and roll it around in my glaze, and then put it back over the coals, and keep turning it, keep rotating it. And what we're doing is uh, we're building a flavor layer onto the outside of this thing by caramelizing those sugars and whatnot that are in there. We keep it rotating, and I probably went back during the course of this cook. I went back to that pan and rolled it in that glaze probably 4 or 5 times during this process. So you can see here that I'm getting some good char on it. Uh, and you can see that it's still wet with glaze. That's probably right after I set it back on there. And you can see how this crust is developing on this thing. This, I know some people are going to say that's too much char for them, but this is about what I like on something like this.
Mm-hmm.
The glaze that I'm putting on there, guys, is practically pure sugar, so it's going to do this. But that you have to, if you don't like it, that's fine. But if you haven't tried something like this, trust me, you're going to want to try it because that char is bringing a really good flavor to this in the end.
Yes, it does.
And at this point, it's about ready. So you kind of have to. What's going to happen? The outside of this guy, when you're cooking this close to the coals, like I was doing here, the outside of it's going to get done before the inside. So when you're outside, when you're happy with what it looks like, bring it up over indirect heat. So I brought this guy up to the cool indirect side of my grill, and I closed the lid on it, and I gave it another 10 or 12 minutes in there until I got up to an internal temperature of about 135. As 130 to 135 is where I I pulled this off the grill, and it probably coasted on up. I didn't check it because Tanya wasn't going to be eating this, so I didn't have to worry about all the pink being gone because I've got no problem with medium rare pork loin, not at all.
Um,
So the next thing that happened is I got one of my carbon steel pans and set it down over the coals. I put a little butter and a little olive oil in that pan. And once I had that butter melted and had it sizzling really good, I dumped in my par cooked potatoes and green beans in that pan. And then I went ahead and tossed in a little bit of the Spellbound with those guys. And this was good. Jeff, the Spellbound is an amazing
I've not thought about using it on the vegetables, but
try
as soon as
because
you said that, because you've seen my cooks, I do a lot of that multicolored potatoes and green beans,
right,
fresh green beans. I do a
yeah.
lot of that. I do it in the wok, and yeah,
Well,
that would be
the last
sensational.
one you did is what gave me the idea to do this today.
Hmm.
I scarfed that idea from something you posted earlier in the week, I believe.
Yep.
I just didn't
I love
use
my
all.
vegetables like that. You know,
Yeah,
that's they get brown so nice, and like I say, that's one of the things that
right.
wok excels at so much.
So this is what I look like when I'm done. And I tried
Hmm.
to get a close up picture here where you can see how I've got some blistering on these
Yep.
green beans and how the the rub has kind of hardened up and crisped up on the outside of these potatoes in spots. And I've got a few blister places on the potatoes. The potatoes weren't really in here long enough for them to really get a browning on them. But that's why I put butter in. I added some butter to the pan instead of just olive oil, where we could get some of that flavor here as well. But
That's
Jeff,
making me hungry, John.
one of the things here that surprised me, I'm talking about, I'm saying that Spellbound doesn't have enough salt in it to suit me, but this was all I needed on those vegetables. I did
Hmm.
not add any additional salt to those potatoes or green beans. Just I used just what I got from this rub.
I
And
mean, and that looks fantastic. I mean, like I said, I love my vegetables like that.
yep. So I sliced my pork loin into some medallions, and you can see the crust I've got on the outside, and you can also see that I've still got a little bit of pink, which for me is perfect. I know everybody
Perfect.
doesn't like theirs like that, and I drizzled on a little bit of my glaze that I had reserved, and just plated that up for lunch today with my potatoes and green beans, and that was my man cave lunch today. And for this cook, I think the Spellbound really did well. And had I do this over again, I normally would not have put the Spellbound on my potatoes and green beans, but I'm glad that I did because I'll do it again, or I'll use a similar rub. But normally, if I was doing this, I would have gone with my AP
Yeah.
on the
Himalayan surf is
potatoes.
what I normally use.
Well, Himalayan Sherpa is a perfect example of a
Yeah.
great AP. It's a salt, pepper, garlic blend.
Yep.
So that's Atlanta Grill Company's house uh, salt, pepper, garlic. It's called Himalayan Sherpa, and it's a. There's no reason you shouldn't buy that one if you're looking for a great AP rub. My favorite AP, I revealed my favorite barbecue rub last week, but my favorite commercial AP is also the Killer Hogs AP because it's got the right amount of MSG in it to suit me. It comes with the MSG in it. I don't have to add it after the fact. But most people don't put MSG in their rubs because there's a stigma associated with that. But anyway,
People got to get
my
over that stigma because it's been proven that that stigma really
yeah,
wasn't what it
it's
was
a
cracked up to be.
it's a thing with some people. So I don't try to convince people to eat something they don't want to eat, but I
No.
know what works for me. I made egg drop soup last night at my mom's house for we're doing this thing where we go to mom's the first Wednesday of every month, and my sister and I prepare a meal, and we go eat at my mom's. And Tanya usually comes with me, and sometimes my sister's husband comes as well. But I made egg drop soup, and I put MSG in my egg drop soup also. But I made my egg drop soup base with the Better Than Bouillon, which I believe has some MSG in it also. But I added a little bit to it, and my sister's been begging me already for that recipe. So I don't think she's on
I'll
here
have to
with me
look at the
tonight.
better than bouillon. I didn't think it had MSG in it, but I could
Uh,
be wrong.
it seems to me that it does, or at least the roasted chicken one I think did. I'd have to go back and look, but look at that. I believe it's got it in it.
Hang on a
But
second.
this is a this was a pretty good lunch. Uh, this green beans and potatoes thing something I'll do again because my wife will like that. Tanya will be all over that. She likes potatoes and green beans, and I'm one of the few people that I think really loves a green bean with some blistering on it. Because normally I cook my green beans under a broiler. I will steam them just like I did here, but then I toss them in some oil and some seasoning and throw them on a pan under a broiler if
Well,
I'm
that's
not
why I
cooking
like doing it in the
outside on a
wok.
grill. Yeah.
I get a
So,
nice blister
but
on a wok.
that char on those green beans is awesome. And those green beans, it's kind of hard to tell from my picture, but they still have just a little crunch to them.
Oh, definitely.
They're not mushy. Uh, and if you really want them to keep the crunch, don't steam them first. Cook them completely in the pan,
Yep.
but allow yourself the time to do that because it'll take 7 minutes or 8 minutes to cook them off in the pan, and you got to keep them moving because
Yep.
that was hot. You can judge it by how hot you've got your pan, but I had a blazing bed of coals underneath that grill, so I had to stick with that pan. That whole incident there, after I put the butter and oil in that pan, it was less than 4 minutes, I think, till I had that off the grill. Since
Yep.
my
I believe it as
potatoes
hot as
and
that grill was.
yeah, my potatoes and green beans were par cooked, so it didn't take long to finish them off. And that's another thing. You can par cook these in advance if you would like. That's another trick that I've learned. If you want to steam those guys ahead of time and put them in a container and put them in the refrigerator and go to the grill with them hours later, you can do that and you can get away with that.
My
It's a
advice
trick.
to you, though, if you're going to do that, do a quick ice bath on it. Stop
Well,
that cooking real quick.
oh, yes. Yeah, you would want to blanch them or you would want to shock them with cold water. Yeah, after the steam. But if you're going to steam those guys, those potatoes were small enough that the potatoes need more time. Even after I had cut those, they still need more time than the green beans. So you could give those potatoes about 15 minutes in the steam and give the green beans about 8 minutes in the steam, and you'll be about perfect uh,
Yeah, I
with
always
those.
start my potatoes first in the wok. Get them to
Yeah,
about half doneness, then I'll throw in my green beans, and
right.
it finishes off great.
Okay, well, I think that's about everything. I don't think I have anything else that I wanted to comment on about lanes. I will go ahead and say that out of I've Jeff and I both have been through a lot of barbecue rubs. We've both had just more different commercial barbecue rubs than most people can imagine. Uh,
Yeah,
all just about all the major brands I've tried at least part of their line of what they make, and I have to say that in in the big picture, the Lane stuff is at the top of the food chain, and
yeah.
it also is the most expensive. Their rubs cost more than anybody else's, and they're really good. There's a couple of Lane's rubs that I think are hard to beat for a lot of things. The Kunami is a
Tsunami,
championship seasoning,
Cubano, the
and
Capula.
the SPF 53 is another. It's a little spicier, but I like using SPF 53 when I want to spice something up and give it a little bit of heat. But I've not had all of Lane's rubs. that he probably now has more rubs. He's got more that I haven't tried than I have at this
Yeah.
point.
He just
Because I've
brought
only
back
tried
out
four
his
or five of
chicken
them.
rub as a limited edition.
Yeah. I don't buy his black. He's selling black pepper. He's selling a bottle of 16 mesh black pepper now. And I haven't tried the SPG simply because I just make my own. I know where my ratios are on that, and uh, everything's good. So, but that's about all I've got for tonight. I don't have anything else. Does
You have
anybody
any
have
questions?
any? Let me scroll back through here. Uh, Jeff, we've got a Brian Miller has says he's joined the Subaru family.
Cool. What'd you
Well,
get, Brian?
I've got 173,000 miles on my cross track now.
I've got 612 on mine.
Yeah, yeah, but you've had how many Subarus since I bought mine? I've had mine since before you got your first one.
I don't. Did you? What year is
Mine's a
yours?
seven. It's a 17.
Okay, yep. 2 years before I got my first one.
Yeah,
But in all of them, if you added all mine together, I'd be over your 170,000 miles
yeah.
by a lot.
Well, Tanya's got a 21, and she's gonna catch up with me because of the commute she
Oh
makes to
yeah,
work.
I don't,
But I
I
haven't.
can't catch Tanya, but I mean
Yeah,
the 23 that I had, which I had for 14 months, I traded in with 33,000 in 14 months.
Janice says she can't smell cumin in the Spellbound. Maybe it's not the cumin that I smell. Maybe it's just something else in the chili powder. Maybe it's black pepper. Maybe it's a combination of the chili powder and the black pepper that I'm getting out of that. It's I don't know. Every Janice aroma perception is different with everybody, and it may just be me. It may just be that I have a sensitivity maybe to cumin because I buy whole cumin here, and whenever I'm going to use cumin in something, I grind it in my mortar and pestle, or I run it through my conical burr coffee grinder that I use to grind black pepper with,
Hmm.
and that freshly ground stuff's really pungent. It's really got a and Brian, it is not relabeled Spellbound. Everything that Atlanta Grill Company has that's made by Lanes is unique to Atlanta Grill Company, and they're
Yep.
not similar. The Georgia butts and ribs is a much smokier, more paprika forward rub than this Spellbound. Would you agree with that, Jeff?
Yep.
The Georgia butts and rubs is not nearly as sweet as the Spellbound.
No, no, no.
I don't think there's anything in the Atlanta Grill Company line that's as sweet as that Spellbound. I don't think any of their stuff has that much sugar in it.
Let's see here. The butts and ribs has light brown sugar, black pepper, smoked paprika, sugar, granulated garlic, kosher salt, chili powder, oregano, cumin, mustard, and cayenne. So it's an entirely different base, different order, different amounts
Yeah,
of everything. But I do like that is a very good. I use that a lot on my pork.
right.
Uh, little disturbing, John. I see several people here said that pictures were not showing up, the photos were not showing up.
I just saw that, and
We had like 3 or 4 people say that.
I wonder if
I
it's
saw them
because
all.
I wonder if I was talking about it and didn't have them on screen. Maybe uh, I'd have to go back and look at the replay, but they were showing up for me as well. So I'm not sure, guys. It's probably partially because my production engineer is not with me tonight. If I'd have had a problem there, she would have been on it and let me know. So anyway, with that, I'm going to need to wrap things up. I've got to shut down. I've got to call it a day. It's been a long day, and I got to kill this guy too.
We'll decide on what we're going to do. You get to decide on what we're going to do next, John.
Yep, but it will be the 1st of April.
Yep.
So I'll think about that. I'll talk to you. And if you don't have whatever I choose, I will send them to you. So, I want to do something. I'll think about that later. I'll think about that over the weekend, and we'll figure it out. So, I think that'll do it. What is that?
In your local Publix, if you can get this, you ought to try it, John. If not, let me know and I'll send you a bottle. It's called Everglades seasoning. It's an all-purpose seasoning. This is one of those seasonings that you were talking about earlier where it might just say spices.
Right.
This has salt, spices, MSG.
Yep.
Dehydrated garlic and onion, sugar, and papan.
And what was the last one?
Papan. Papain. Papan.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know either, but I'm fixing to look it up. But anyway, that's really interesting flavor.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, and we will see you next Thursday.